Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Pilot Lawyer Podcast. Thank you for your attention while this important legal information is reviewed. What you hear should not replace consultation with an attorney and should not be considered advice for your situation. On behalf of the Pilot Lawyer and your entire crew, it's our pleasure to have you aboard.
Welcome, aviators, to the Pilot Lawyer Podcast with us, the Eisen brothers at the Eisen Law Firm, where aviation law is all we do, nothing else. You're here for what we do best, navigating the FAA medical certification process for pilots and those who want to become pilots. Around the office, we like to say, if you don't laugh, you cry. And for the next 30 minutes, we hope to bring you the lighter side of what can otherwise be a frustrating process. So whether you're laughing at us or with us, join us, brothers, as we discuss the fascinating world of FAA medical certification. Today, we're going to discuss diabetes.
Do you have no soul?
Why?
How can you get that through that opening without just laughing hysterically and having to do several takes like I do?
At this point in the day, I'm pretty well on my way.
Lies.
To not having a soul. No, I'm just a better orator, actor, and overall performer than you.
Now that.
Anywho, along with us today, we have the big cheese, Anthony Eisen.
Hello.
Bozo the clown, Dr. Alex Eisen.
Hi, kids.
Okay, that's creepy. And MC Mike over here, Chris Eisen.
It's Mix Master Mike.
Mix Master, whatever it is. It's because I control the little buttons here that make people laugh.
Want it?
Now, see, you're
That's why you're controlling. You get two at once.
Your gratuitous slap of the buttons over here just disclose something new. You can press more than one button at once.
Press all my buttons.
Wait. Can you do it laughter and applause at once? That's good.
We don't hear that much, so we have to turn to digital technology to
The piping in.
to satisfy our egos.
This is what I heard coming from your bedroom last night.
I know my wife thinks that my fat rolls are funny, but you don't have to tell everybody about it.
It was immediately followed by this.
This is a children's program.
Hi, kids. And so far, nothing on here is going to make us lose that clean rating on the podcast. Is that a thing?
Everyone?
Yeah. When you go on there and you look it up on, I guess, Apple or whatever, it's clean.
More like sad.
Anywho,
What are we talking about today? I mean, could you
I already mentioned it.
Get into the content.
I literally mentioned it like right after this amazing opening I gave. And then you decided to derail the whole show. I want to talk about diabetes.
If you have diabetes,
Diabetes.
What's the deal with it?
Mellitus?
Mellitus.
Mellitus? Hey, it's not militant, right?
diabetes.
So diabetes, mellitus.
Is it a problem in the medical certification world? FAA.
Yes. I'm inclined to believe it is because I know we have clients that have it that call us frequently because they have it. So,
Frequently? Who do you think we are? One of the other aviation attorneys or services?
We certainly aren't doctors, that's for sure.
I am.
One is.
But anyhow,
you have a medical problem.
I want to talk about diabetes and whether or not you can get a medical certificate with the FAA despite having a history or presently having diabetes.
What level of diabetes do you have?
That's an excellent question.
That's the FAA's first question, probably.
Let's say I have, well, how many levels can you have? I got them all.
Probably by the looks of you.
I'm a collector. But let's say
Collecting diabetes.
let's say you have type 1. Long story short, let's just cut through the guano here, gentlemen.
You just logged another 30 minutes.
No, but seriously, let's not hedge here for these people. Let's get to the final answer first, and then we'll talk about how we got there.
You can get a medical.
If you have type 1 diabetes, can you get a medical?
Yeah, it's going to be special issuance.
Okay, but you can get a medical.
That's correct.
Okay.
Potentially,
and you'll
all
be
your numbers are
potentially right. Okay. There's potential. So you're saying there's a chance. Let's go to type 2. Can you get a medical with type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
Type 3.
I swear.
No, but in all seriousness though, with type 2 diabetes, you can get a medical, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Depends on
you're over there looking like you're thinking really hard.
That's right. That's why the steam's coming out of my ears.
Yes. Are you not sure?
I'm absolutely positive, baby.
How sure are you?
Depends on what your problem is. You got to look at your numbers. You're going to have to run it up the flagpole, but I can't guarantee anything. They're going to put that on my tombstone and say, hey, listen, he couldn't guarantee anything. Couldn't guarantee thank you. He couldn't guarantee living.
I'd play this one for you at your tombstone.
Because now you have to handle all the work.
But now I'm sure it'll just be this.
Okay. That's your bedroom.
Enough with enough. Yeah. Did I say the bedroom?
Yeah, you said that. And now I'm worried about.
That was insensitive. I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
Absolutely not.
Anyhow, moving on.
Getting a little raunchy for people with diabetes.
Hey, listen, if you don't laugh, you cry.
Hey, you cry a lot.
Anywho,
okay.
Let's talk about type 1.
So the FAA...
Wait. Before we do it, let's try
6
to
minutes in here and no content. It's also from your bedroom.
Okay. Maybe we could try to incorporate our medical consultant a little bit more on this podcast.
Only thing he knows is...
I know he's a chiropractor, but I'm sure...
now the truth comes out.
I'm sure there's probably something in his 5 years of medical school after having done 4 years of undergraduate.
School, per se. Don't confuse the listener. He went to chiropractic college. I'm not belittling it. I don't want...
It sounds like it.
I don't want some fuss
it.
budget. He didn't go to medical school.
Sounds like you're the fuss budget.
I'm going to call your father and tell him.
Hey, my daddy is.
Okay. So it was a slip of the tongue. I mean, good grief.
Go ahead.
Everybody's
Just
got to
ask
be
the stupid
so
question.
anal.
Ask the stupid question.
You went to 5 years of chiropractic college where you were taught by medical physicians, were you not?
Yeah.
Professors that had MD degrees.
Most of them for Pakistan, but yes.
They got to
We
get them
don't
somewhere.
discriminate the Pakis.
And then prior to that, you had 4 years of undergraduate training.
Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah. You went to high
Did
school,
you?
middle school, elementary school.
I skipped that.
Oh, lucky you. Point is this. Tell us about type 1 diabetes versus type 2 diabetes. So that way, if the listener doesn't know what they have, maybe they'll know.
And also,
But mostly for me.
Why do people call it diabetes?
That I don't know. That's just the name they gave to it.
Okay, but
Content.
Yeah. We're vamping.
We don't really know anything about this. We just want to be able to put the diabetes podcast on the website.
They're just buying me time to Google it. That's all.
I'm trying to SEO this thing, okay?
Okay, so type 1 typically is, you're born with diabetes. It's basically the same process between type 1 and
We
type 2.
don't want to talk about what you were born with.
Not a whole lot. No. So type 1, born with it, very similar process as type 2. Type 2 is more an environmental thing. The pancreas isn't creating enough insulin, which takes blood sugar to the necessary structures within the body. And
When you say it's an environmental thing, what kind of environment are we talking about?
This is an environmental law.
it's the environment you live in, Christopher. Think of
I've been dodging a bullet. So what do you mean? Like,
usually diet-induced, lack of exercise.
Coming up on the podcast, we'll reveal that Christopher is just now discovering he has diabetes.
that's a very possible possibility.
Well, let me say this
Okay.
much. So when the FAA comes around,
Well, first you got to tell them about it.
first you got an 18K on the medical application. You got to tell them about your diabetes.
Is it 18K?
18K. I'm the only one paying attention here.
Be honest on your
Please
application.
don't look it up. Please don't look it up.
I gotta make sure. But I'll look it up while you continue
18K is going to get you a deferral, baby, most of the time. Okay, so if you get deferred, the FAA is going to say, what's going on here? And they're going to triage the diabetes. Right? Triage. What's triage mean?
Take care of. See what's going on. Try to figure
You know
out
what? You're
the
absolutely
issue
right.
is.
It's 18K.
Well, hey, what's triage? Look at triage up, college.
Let's get into the root cause of what's the issue.
I don't think
is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
Triage.
thought that was something they do to trees.
Okay, you
triage.
logged another 30.
Wow.
The triage, the preliminary assessment of patients or casualties in order to determine the urgency of their need for treatment and the nature of treatment required.
Top one.
Or that was a noun, as a verb, to conduct a preliminary assessment of patients or casualties. Essentially the same as a noun.
They just had to take one look at you.
Casualty.
Type 1 diabetes is just relatively recently become something that can receive a special issuance. So most of these conditions we discuss, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes with insulin control, type 2 diabetes with no insulin control but medication and so on, you're going to get a special issuance or an AME assisted special issuance. Some categories of pre-diabetes and so on are CACI qualified, conditions AMEs can issue. But type 1 diabetes is definitely a special issuance, and it's very strictly overseen, and requirements are just crazy. Well, let me walk you through what that looks like.
Well, you say crazy, but in reality, is this something that I can maybe try and hedge by having all the documents together when I go in to see my AME and still walk out with a medical? Or is it something where even if I have all the documents together, I give them to the AME, he's still going to have to defer to Oklahoma City for further evaluation for them to make a determination?
That's correct.
What is correct? I gave you two options. You're telling me it's correct.
You know what? I wasn't really listening to you.
You and everybody else.
Type 1 diabetes, let me just walk you through it. Let me forget your question and just answer the question.
I think people in podcast land want to hear an answer.
If I knew if they want to call in with what the question was and repose the question, I'd be happy to answer it.
You know what? Why don't you just talk?
Yeah.
Just talk. Say whatever you want to say.
Fine. If you got type 1 diabetes, it's going to depend on whether you're applying for a first class or a second class application, medical certificate, or a third class medical certificate, as to certain requirements relative to use of a continuous glucose monitor, CGM. Third class applicants are not required to provide CGM data, but first and second class applicants are. That is among other documentation that the FAA will want to see relative to the status and control of your type 1 diabetes.
Sounds
Thanks for the question.
Ominous.
That's correct. What kind of information is the FAA going to want to see regarding your type 1 diabetes? And again, it's going to vary greatly depending on what the circumstances are, what age you are to some extent, what you're applying for, and so on and so forth.
When you say what you're applying for, you mean first, second, or third class medical?
That's correct. How long you've been using a CGM device.
Are they going to want all the data from the CGM?
They're going to want at least 6 months of data, baby.
Okay, well, let's say you had, going back to my original question, let's say you had all this stuff together in a nice little package with a bow on it, and you take it to your AME.
The AME still can't issue it. It's going to get deferred. They're going to send that information to the FAA for review. In our experience, the file is going to go through the Medical Appeals Division.
What's that?
It's a division within the AMCD.
It's a division within the division.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's your government people.
The government. And as such, it's going to take a long time for that data to be reviewed for them to pull the trigger on whether or not they want to give you a special issuance or not. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because there's a chance that the data is going to time out. They're going to want fresh data before they issue. So you may end up doing it twice.
Has your FAA medical certificate been denied? Are you concerned you may not be able to get a medical certificate from the FAA? Are you at risk for FAA action for failing to report your medical history appropriately? Call the pilot lawyer at 1-855-FAA-1215 to discuss your options for getting the FAA to issue your medical certificate and get you flying. We are happy to evaluate your case and discuss with you a plan for presenting your case to the AME or the FAA. Aviation law is all we do, nothing else.
That was something I was going to ask you, and then you took away my layup. So
please don't use sports nomenclature.
I don't know what a layup is.
It's when one player assists another player. I don't know.
Thanks for the question. What kind of information are they going to look for? Well, the documentation the FAA will require for a first and second class applicant who present with diabetes type 1 or diabetes type 2, which is controlled with insulin. It's going to be a very intricate list of information to include potentially initial comprehensive clinical consultation from your treating board-certified endocrinologist.
Why are you talking like that?
Just because...
I mean, do you think people out there want to listen to you talking like a buffoon?
I want folks to email, call Christopher's direct line throughout the rest of this week and identify whether or not I should talk like this. Text 863-712-9475 as to whether Anthony should talk like this.
Lines are open.
As soon as I get a text regarding this, I'll be sure to let you know. Any hour of the day.
That's beautiful. Anyhow, there's a laundry list of things the FAA is going to want to see. You're going to want to see documentation regarding your CGM data, eye evaluation, cardiac risk evaluation, and so on.
Let me ask you this question. Is there some reason why you need to have us involved in this process if there's a pathway, apparently, for people with diabetes to get medical certification? I mean, it seems like there's a known list of medical documentation that will need to be provided to the FAA. What would be the benefit of having us involved when there is something a little bit more concrete for them to follow?
You know, I think people want to hear the content, not the plug.
Well, sometimes
They get both.
the plug is the content. I mean,
we have seen cases where, we don't like that your CGM data is, not enough time in range, or there's, we don't like your stress test, or your eye exam is a little bit funky. You got some goop in your eyes. And so what we try to do is figure out, well, what is the problem, right? 99% of the time, people get these denial letters saying, you got diabetes. And I just sent you 500 pages worth of diabetes records. Why are you denying me? What we want to do is we want to get in there and figure out, what is the problem? Or what do they need to see? What do they want to see? And how can we package this up with your doctor's help to say, here's current data that alleviates concerns regarding old data or whatever it may be, or here's why these numbers look the way they are, and try to put it in front of the FAA to see if they're willing to work with you to say, really, is it aeromedically significant or not within the confines of their policies and the regulations and so on.
So essentially, you're trying to keep a finger on the pulse, if you will.
That's right.
And read the tea leaves.
That's right. Now, I will say, though, that diabetes type 2, not controlled with insulin, is maybe not as involved as type 1.
You will say that?
I will say that.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
There's not as much information required to be issued a certificate. It's a bit more straightforward. What I'll see typically, though, oh my gosh, this is almost on the daily.
You see this daily?
I see it daily. If you in here doing your work, by God, you see it too, Governor. Text 863-712-9475 if you like the voice. Anyhow, what happens a lot are people taking disqualifying medications or disqualifying combinations of medications. You could be on several approved diabetic medications, but the combo be unacceptable. Does that make sense? Let's go to the lowest life form possible. Ask Alex.
Ask Bozo.
If he thinks that makes sense.
It does.
So if I'm taking one medication, the FAA publishes a list that are in certain groups, and that they're very clear in their guidelines that, hey, you can take these medications or these types of medications, but you can't take certain combinations of these medications. What'll happen is you'll go into the queue of the medical appeals division, wait several months, they'll come back and deny you and say, hey, listen, you can't do it. You need to know going into it, because there are certain monitoring times on certain medications the FAA will want to see you on for a certain period of time. So if you submit something, you're just waiting for the FAA to respond, and all along you're on a disqualifying combination of medication, you need to fix that. Get it to your doctor to say, hey, here's the medications I can take, and you need to start the data-driven.
Is that because they're using some of those medications for like off-label purposes?
I don't think so.
No, okay. Well, I did.
You get into a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
here.
Well, so podcast is off-label. Now, I'll also say
I was under the impression that the FAA didn't publish a list of disqualified medications.
they do for diabetes.
Maybe not for other conditions.
Yeah.
So there's some medications.
Well, it's because they're so finicky with the combos.
it changes, huh?
It changes. Now, I'd also say that there are other things such as type 2 diabetes control with diet and pre-diabetes that could be a CACI program condition, or to some extent much easier, easier than type 2 control with medication, get a medical. Well, so keep that in mind. There is a triage.
I had somebody call about pre-diabetes the other day, and they were saying, well, is that something I need to put? I mean, they're saying maybe I am pre-diabetes. Is that something I need to put down on my application? Because the application just asks history of diabetes. So where would I put that on my application?
I'd still put it on 18K.
And you know what my response was?
That's literally what your thought process probably was.
Sound effect Larry at his best.
We're really getting up on that lunch.
I need to research this.
So
you tell me what was my answer.
I probably, hanging up the phone.
I called 863-712-9472. I don't
know who that belongs to. All this to say, I would still put it on 18K. and then qualify it in the explanation box. Say, oh, this is pre-diabetes. This isn't really diabetes.
And what box?
18K.
18K?
Now, you could potentially put an 18X, but we had a case once where individual was putting diabetes in 18X, and they took issue with that, and they revoked his certificates for falsification because he wasn't putting an 18K.
That's ridiculous. I mean, you had the information there. Like what?
Well, they claimed that he hadn't. I don't know. They also said that he was saying previously reported no change in 18X, wasn't an 18K. It's crazy. So anyhow, but I also say this.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. I'll also say this much. Diabetes can be, I just mixed the two between diabetes and diabetes. Diabetes is relevant also as a comorbidity in cardiovascular cases. So you could potentially be going along just fine with your diabetes, otherwise they're medically significant. But let's say you're being evaluated for cardiovascular concern. The FAA really takes seriously the fact that diabetes is a comorbidity perhaps to your cardiovascular risk. And so that would be considered as well. So you have to think not laterally, but unilaterally. What is that?
Vertically?
You need to think abstractly.
Unilateral is just a one-track mind.
Yeah.
You know all about that.
Well, I mean, it's hard to branch off into different thoughts.
This podcast is going down the toilet. Give me a toilet.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of for toilet. Anywho,
when do we get to the crying part? If you don't laugh, you cry.
We're there. We are there.
it is interesting. I wish they had some more built-in sound effects.
So the same thing about you.
Well, anywho, moving on. So we've discussed type 1, type 2, pre-diabetes. And are there any other type of concerns with respect to the diabetes family?
Well, if you have type 6 diabetes, I'm just kidding. Note, however, that the FAA is going to just be incredibly adamant about these A1C values. Typically, you don't want to submit an A1C that's older than 90 days. So, I mean, what I would recommend sometimes, if your A1Cs are, especially if they're good, you want to submit an A1C with your application, that package of documentation you discussed earlier. But if your file is in queue, like we said, the medical appeals division is going to take probably some time to review. So if you have good A1Cs and good data, you may consider supplementing your package while it's in queue so as to prevent the FAA from turning around and saying, oh, well, we've reviewed it. Now we need more data. You want to try to keep that data fresh in the file.
Interesting.
Whoa, I feel the plane moving. We're going base to final? Please, God, go base to final. I'm hungry.
It looks like we got to do a go-around. We haven't been recording this.
And you triage these. So what was the takeaway for today?
The takeaway for today is that if you have diabetes, it's not the end of your flying career per se. You just need to get good information to the FAA that they're looking for to support your eligibility to hold a medical certificate.
Is it worth sending in information if I've got bad CGM data, or I've got, I'm out of range, or is it?
I mean, it's not, I don't think it would make sense to do that. I think you need to work on getting your data in range, because otherwise you're just going to keep, why give them bad data that they're just going to take issue with? Why not get it to a point where it's in a nice spot and then move forward with the medical certification process?
And is it important to be healthy?
Well, you tell me. Because you don't look healthy.
Let me give you one little tip.
I don't think this is the appropriate place to canvass that question.
We're three fat dudes.
Hey, you ever told a lie?
I tell you what, the next trial I have, I'm going to ask that question to the
opposing witness.
You ever told a lie?
You're trapped at that point. If you say yes, then it's okay. Yeah, I've told a lie. Now you look like a liar. You have a history, a propensity to lie. If you say no, well, we know you've lied before.
You're lying to us now.
Yeah, it's the perfect question. And I think
you ever told Santa Claus is real? There's a lie.
That's why you're not a lawyer.
Yeah, when they say no, well, do you believe in Santa Claus?
You know what the interesting thing is? There's really nothing interesting to say. Go ahead. But if you got have you ever gotten somebody a medical, not us gotten it, but have we ever worked with somebody who achieved medical certification with type 1 diabetes? I'm signaling yes to you because I know you don't know anything.
It looks like, you know what? I hear a lot of.
Is that a guarantee that you'll get your medical? Is that a guarantee we can get you your medical?
Which one is that?
The want.
Oh. Well, no, I don't want to give a wah-wah on a guarantee.
We can't guarantee anything.
Oh, that's right. We don't guarantee anything.
Oh boy.
Claps. They get it.
Well, is that about it for today?
I think people out there are asking us to
Please
quit.
stop.
Stop.
Please
stop. Stop.
People
Stop.
listening to their cars or crashing the cars just to turn the radio off now.
And now they're going to have to report that to the FAA too. Well, you've logged another uneventful half hour listening to the Pilot Lawyer Podcast. And even though our wives deny they know us in public, we are the Eisen brothers of the Eisen Law Firm. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.